How much better off are we today as a nation, as a world, than we were just 3.5, 4 years ago? Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Happy Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you're having a good start to the weekend. We have a lot of news to go over, and I want to start with this right here, ladies and gentlemen. Orange Man Bad says that there is a 100% chance of a major attack in America. Why? Because there are so many people that are unlawfully entering our nation through the porous southern border who are unchecked. And we don't know who they are or what intentions they have, except for one person for sure that we know has bad intentions, and we'll talk about him in a minute. That it is inevitable, ladies and gentlemen, that we are going to be weakened from within if we dare touch one of these other countries that we are feuding with in the now. Let me clear this up real quick. The reason that I called our ex-president Donald J. Trump Orange Man Bad is to wake those of you up who've been cussing him for years because of what the mainstream media tells you. Ladies and gentlemen, do your own research. I'm not here to convince you one way or another. I could care less. But in a way, I really do care that this administration that is currently in office gets the hell out as soon as it can. All you have to do is take a look at the history of President Trump. You'll know that he loves his country. And then take a look at the last 48 to 50 years that the current administration has been in public office, and take a look at all of the laws that he's passed against the American people. But more importantly, take a look at everything that he's doing now to destroy this nation, or to allow his handlers to destroy this nation. President Trump here says just 3 years ago we had the strongest and safest border in U.S. history. Today we have a catastrophe waiting to happen. It is the worst border in the history of the world. An open wound in our once great country. Our country is still great because we are still protected under the umbrella of the Constitution of these United States. Hopefully, our Supreme Court won't forsake us when it really matters. And I now believe that we will 100% go to war, ladies and gentlemen. Why? 2 reasons. Because the current administration is doing everything that they possibly can to, number 1, weaken our nation, and number 2, take us to war. They want nothing more than for something drastic to happen that will make the American people say, we need to go to war. That's what they want. They want you to want it. Now, do you remember a video that I put up not too long ago, and I think that on the thumbnail it says identified, of a person that was crossing the southern border unlawfully and was being interviewed? Well, this person said some disturbing things that we ought to think about when it comes to making sure that we're prepared, not only with food and water and medicine, but also with self-defense. One particularly menacing encounter with an illegal alien recently made headlines after he issued a veiled threat stating, quote, "Soon you're going to know who I am. If you are smart enough, you will know who I am," he says, "but you are not smart enough to know who I am." This person really is a very bad person who does not love America. But then if he doesn't love America, then why is he coming into America? That's the big question. And you see, the powers that be want nothing more than for one of these actors to do something crazy within our borders so that we can blame someone and say they did it, and now we are going to go and bomb them into democracy. You see, we've been bombing countries into democracy for a long time. We bombed Vietnam into democracy, right? We bombed Korea into democracy. We bombed Iraq into democracy. We bombed Afghanistan into democracy, Somalia, Libya, and the list, I am sure, goes on and on and on. But where has that gotten these United States of America? Well, ladies and gentlemen, in the end, it will only mean that more lives were given up needlessly, and that we are now in even more debt. I want to extend a big thank you to the Border Patrol officers that are down in the southern border right now protecting our nation. Border Patrol defies Biden's orders by refusing to remove Texas razor wire barriers and adding more. You see, for all of these years that I've been doing YouTube, I've never really gotten political. And I don't think that I am getting political by calling the current administration corrupt and calling them criminal. Now, that's my opinion from what I can see. Because the truth is the truth. You have to ask yourselves a simple question. Without looking at names, without looking at figures, and without looking at tweets, how much better off are we today as a nation, as a world, than we were just 3.5, 4 years ago? If you can honestly answer that question while staring at yourself in the mirror, then you'll know that your answer will be that we are not better off today. No country respects the United States of America anymore, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the most debt that we've ever been as a nation. Now, I think that it doesn't matter who comes into office. Our debt is going to continue to go up unless this system, monetary system by which we are governed, fails. Because in order for this fiat monetary system to stay alive, the debt has to continue to rise. That's the only way that it stays alive. So it doesn't matter who. But what's the money been used for? Excuse me. Let me ask you a question. If all of this debt that was created with the intent to give us better roads, to give us better schools, to give us a better standard of living, and we as a nation said, you know what? It's worth it to do this. Let's go ahead and let the government devalue our dollars. That way we can have better standard of living. That way our children can live a better life. If that's the way we want to go, that's fine. I don't agree with it. I don't think the government ought to be taxing us the way that they are. But let's say that was the way it was. At least it's being kept here in these United States. But here, as we print trillions of dollars to ensure that the borders of other countries are secure, we are letting our borders falter and letting in anyone who wants to come here, good or bad. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there is a time where you have to take a stand and say this is enough. What kind of a country are we going to leave to our children if this continues? What I have to say is this. I hope that you're preparing. I hope that you're stocking up on food, at least a 1-year supply. Stocking up on food, medical supplies, any kind of medicine that you really need. Stock up on it, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure that you get self-defense as deep as you can. You're going to need to be prepared for the years that are coming ahead. Because if this administration has anything to do with it, we will turn over our reins to another nation so that they can govern us instead of we governing ourselves. Not only that, turn our reins over to another nation. They'll probably turn it over to the UN or one of those NGOs that was never voted into office. And what amazes me is that even when the proof is in your face, you can't handle the truth and you just refuse to see it. You agree to ignore it. Illegal migrant camps at U.S. airports. Massachusetts Governor Healey pleads for Washington and Congress to act on the crisis that they helped to create by supporting open borders. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to support what I do, if you want to help me out, please give this video a like, please share it, please leave a comment. More importantly, go ahead and let it play all the way through, even if you have to go and grab a coffee or something like that, because people need to hear this. We have to understand what's going to happen. We're not going to stop this. We're not going to stop this right here, ladies and gentlemen, unless we have someone in office that's going to stop it, that's going to put the hammer down and say, nah, that's enough. That's enough. We can't take this anymore. And we'll put a stop to it. And these states that asked for this initially, now they're going, hey, can you help us out here? Well, why? You're the one that asked for it. America's migrant crisis has indeed reached its breaking point, as various airports in the country are now being conquered by undocumented migrants. The most recent air station that has been overtaken by illegals is Terminal E at Boston's Logan International Airport. And for our brothers and sisters in law enforcement, you have to remember what a lawful order is and what an unlawful order is, and you need to read up on the Constitution of the United States of America. Migrants who beat up New York Police Department cops released with no bail given free tickets to California under fake name. And how did they say thank you? By giving them the double birdie. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what, this really pisses me off. But you know what, as a nation, I can't say that we've gotten what we asked for. Because I bet you that most people don't want this. But we are being, as a nation, held hostage by a corrupt, in my opinion, criminal organization. And as if we didn't have enough trouble. Iraq Parliament is calling to ditch US dollar for oil trade. And when they ditch the US dollars, ladies and gentlemen, what are we going to do about it? The US ain't going to do nothing about it. Like I said towards the beginning of this video, I believe, most of the world no longer respects the United States of America. And why is that? Well, take a look at what the tip of the spear looks like. I'm going to go ahead and take a little victory lap and say a good pat in the back, because I've been telling you for a long time now that there's no way that green energy is going to replace fossil fuels. And at least there are some corporations, some businesses that are waking up to this fact. One of them that I don't have pulled up here is Toyota. Toyota has decided to give up on EVs and to start making hybrids. Why? Because hybrids actually make sense. They really do. They save a lot of money in fuel. They're very efficient and they last a pretty long time. Well, GM is doing the same thing. They are shifting from EVs to plug-in hybrids, following industry trends. I personally feel that is a much better option than to just go fossil fuel less all of a sudden. Why? Because when these green energies that we are going to count on fail, what do we have as a backup? And finishing it up, ladies and gentlemen, as a reminder that inflation has not gone anywhere and it will be coming back to a city near you. Cocoa prices hit 46-year high as drought concerns threaten West African crops. And the thing is that the reason that cocoa prices are hitting a high is because of the weather. That's not even calculating in the actual inflation of the money supply. And believe me when I tell you this, that eventually the Fed will find itself in a position where it has to print more. I think that eventually we will go into what is a deflationary, somewhat of a recession, depression. I think more so of a depression. And whenever I say something like this, people think it's crazy because they don't see it happening the next day. It's very slow. The first 90% of a crash happens very, very slowly. And then that last 10% usually happens very quickly. Well, we're getting to the point where that 10% is coming up. I'm saying that we're probably just about there. And then, ladies and gentlemen, when the Fed is caught in a corner saying, what are we going to do? Deflation is the worst thing for a Fed or the government because they can't raise any taxes. So what are they going to do? They're going to turn on those printing presses and they're going to put them on high speed. They're going to go ahead and attach a couple of those rockets from SpaceX, you know, from Elon Musk's SpaceX, and they're going to put them on high gear, and those presses are going to print faster than anything in the history of mankind. And then your dollars will become worthless. The only thing that they can do in order to avoid that is, in my opinion, one of two things. Either back the dollar by gold, which will be very painful for the entire country, all right, except for those that have gold and or silver, and or have a CBDC, which will be very painful because it will steal from us all of our liberties. Maybe not right away, but soon enough. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you have a great rest of your week. And I know that this was kind of a downer type of a news video, but we are getting to a point where something is going to happen where you're going to need to rely on your preps. So don't stop preparing, ladies and gentlemen. I implore you, don't stop preparing. Keep filling in the gaps. When I did that meat review video, if you haven't seen the video where I checked out, I think it was 8 different types of meats that I had canned or purchased in a can that were really, really old. I think the oldest one was like 9 years old that I pressure canned myself. If you haven't checked that out, check that out because it's very interesting. I think it was a good video. But anyways, when I was doing that video and I was picking out the cans of meat that I was going to go ahead and showcase during that video, I saw that I still have a pretty good amount of room to put more meat into my pantry, and that's what's going to happen. I'm going to go ahead and fill that thing up with whatever I like, my wife likes, my daughter likes. After that, it will just be a bonus. But make sure that you keep filling in your gaps at the very minimum. Have a great rest of your weekend. God bless every one of you. Thank you so much for all of your support. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.